Hi friends, happy Black Friday weekend. I hope you're snagging some great deals. And I also hope that you have some time to just relax and sit at home and watch this quick devotional for the weekend. I think that will bring you some freedom and hopefully joy. So today I want to talk about 4 ways to stop fearing the future. So I want to ask you a question. Do you have a fear of the future? Maybe it's rational, maybe it's irrational. Today I want to talk about how to be confident of what your future holds. So have you ever been fearful of anything that could or would happen in the future? So I don't know about you, but I've seen family members that have died young. I've seen precious friends suffer with cancer and some who have not recovered but have passed away too early. There's just so much to be worried about in life when our imagination gets going. And then if you have kids, at least for us, when our first child arrived, the fear started immediately after finding out I was pregnant. So when I found out I was pregnant, it was quiet, early summer morning. I remember when I took my first ever positive pregnancy test, and after my knees stopped shaking and I kneeled to say a quick prayer of complete shock but mostly gratitude, I couldn't possibly go back to sleep, obviously. It was early in the morning, and so what did I do? I took a walk. So my mind was reeling about a billion different scenarios. Would I have a boy or a girl? Would they like to dance? Would they like to play sports? Would they look like me or my husband? And as quickly as my mind started to reeling with my child's potential, so did the possibilities of utter disaster that could also take place now that I was pregnant. So what if I picked the wrong color for the nursery? Will the shade of yellow potentially induce a dairy intolerance? And I thought about all the things. I thought about miscarriage, disease, disability, sickness for my baby and for myself. And our minds are marvelous imaginations and can really imagine the worst or best of outcomes. Unfortunately, a lot of us are conditioned to think of the worst, and fear is a cruddy but powerful motivator. And that's just how it is. So here I was on the walk, overwhelmed and excited, and simultaneously acutely aware of the dark side of pregnancy and all the things that could go wrong. And I'll never forget setting my mind on the walk in my neighborhood and saying out loud when these negative thoughts started reeling, and then journaling when I got home, Philippians 4:8. Philippians 4:8 says, "Finally, brothers or sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is admirable, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." Think about things like this. So it's in that moment on my walk, freshly realizing that I'm about to have a baby in 9 months, that I had to set the tone for my heart and my mind as to what it would be dwelling on for the next 9 months and beyond. I just set the plumb line, for instance, of thought. Anything that swayed me towards anxiety or dread had to be dealt with immediately. Then I had to decide then, despite my experience and despite others' experience, I chose to dwell on only things like this when I was pregnant. And it really did. It saved me a whole lot of anxiety and worry throughout my pregnancy. However, when our daughter was born, I felt like I had to do it all over again. Because now sunscreen could cause cancer, and incorrect light bulb wattage in our nursery might send electronic signals halting brain development, and too many stuffed pet teddy bears could set her up for a life of entitlement, and who wants to be around a kid like that? I mean, I get it. And the point is there's plenty of opportunities to worry about the future, whether it's for your kids or yourselves or your family. So recently, I've had irrational fears about death, that I might die young. And I'm not afraid of death itself, but these whispers I've recently realized are not from God. And they're not even blatant, loud thoughts. They're just like little whispers in my mind, whispers that would be easy to really push aside as normal, maybe part of getting older. And we're constantly exposed from the realities of the world we live on with a lot of hard stuff. But those thoughts actually is what prompted me to share with you about fear this week, because I've been dealing with it myself. So I thought if I'm dealing with it, I'm probably not the only one. And darn it, this is not normal. We were not designed to live in fear. We were only designed to live in a state of love. Hear that? We were designed to live constantly in a state of love. So I've recognized this type of toxic thinking in myself sooner than later. And instead of allowing them to paralyze me, I've been challenged to wield the Word of God, which is also called the sword of the Spirit, to cut off the enemy's voice in my mind, a part of my life. So my hope for you is that you can identify any fear you have of the future and start living with great expectancy instead. So quickly, here are 4 ways to stop fearing the future. Number one, what are you afraid of? Right? You need to identify it. Maybe for me, for instance, it was a fear of dying young. And this is recent, which is kind of strange. But you need to disarm it. So that way of thinking is not normal. That thought of, maybe I'll die young is not from God. I guarantee it. But we need to focus on the truth. Psalm 91:16 has been life for me lately. It says, with long life, I will satisfy him, meaning God will satisfy me and show him my salvation. So I'm holding on to that long life. Number two, you need to know why are you afraid of that? Is it something that happened to you? Is it something you did? Was it someone else's experience that you saw and that you were close to? Is it family patterns of things that have happened to family or family members? You need to know what you're afraid of. Number three, redeem your imaginations. So imagination is actually a gift from God, but we need to tear down imaginations that are false and lead us with anxiety and fear and make them captive to Christ. You need to use your imagination for good, to think of the best possible outcome. So many times, it's a discipline. I remember when I was young and my parents would be gone somewhere and I was old enough to stay home, and they wouldn't be home when they said they were a couple minutes late or maybe 15 minutes late. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, what if the rapture happened? I thought I was left behind. I mean, crazy. I would think of the craziest outcomes negatively always first. And we just do that. And so thinking of the best positive outcome is literally discipline that we need to do. So when we're wondering, when there's a fear or an anxiety, we need to, instead of playing the movie forward in a negative light, we need to think of what could be the best possible outcome and camp out there. Use our imaginations for good. The fourth thing is envision a different ending to your story. So whatever that imagination is that you've made up in your mind of the situation, how it could turn for good, say it out loud, share it, reinforce it with the Word of God. Again, for me, recently, it's Psalm 118:17 says, I will not die. I will live to tell what the Lord has done. And I'm staying immovable in that because I know that that is the truth of what God says about me, that I will live and not die. Instead, I will live to tell, to say what the Lord has done. So I just challenge you to do those four things. So number one, what are you afraid of? Identify what you're afraid of. Number two, think about why are you afraid of that thing. Number three, redeem your imagination. Use the Word of God. Find a promise that you can hold on to and use your imagination to imagine the best possible outcome for you or for someone else. And number four, envision a different ending to your story. Think about it, dwell on it, use your imagination for good, and God will redeem it. You will not die. Instead, you will live to tell what the Lord has done. So have a great rest of your holiday weekend. Don't fear. Comment below if you have struggled with this in the past, or if you have any comments that could help me or help others, because you are not alone. Thanks so much for spending this couple minutes with me. See you later.